I was wondering, is there a mute button on this, that phone so it's not picking up sounds? I'm just hearing everything all kind of garbled at once.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
It works.
So you can mute him now.
Yeah, and we can mute you.
There you go. No, he's just muted.
Okay.
Do you want them to?
Janice taking control of it
No, we're getting the franchise.
Oh, they can sign it right here. She just told me I have to yell all the way here.
now. Anybody mute him again?
No, we had to stop her.
Or the button on those speakers. Now you said it.
Her phone and then
What did it have? Mute.
Are you sure?
There you go.
So if we scooted it over further, you guys are gonna work in here. Oh.
Yeah.
you should have tried to stop her. Because, you know, generally, whatever the promotion
Well, no, I didn't.
Hi, Larry, how are you?
I transferred funds.
Just making sure.
You want to unmute Ed? You have to take him unmute.
Mark, you want to unmute Ed?
Or Jan can unmute Ed. Yeah, just hit that button. There you go.
There it is.
Right, so Michael Lett has also responsibility.
I don't know.
Why is that?
He has to be able to hear.
Well, then Mark can.
He's unmuted. Ed,
Yes, I can hear perfectly, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Village of Kempton Hills, October 17, 2023 at 7 o'clock. I'd like a motion to bring Ed Muncy in to the meeting.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Jan Person, second by
Second.
Tim Morgan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Roll call.
Trustee Bodnar?
Here.
Trustee Burson?
Here.
Trustee McElvey?
Here.
Trustee Millette?
Present.
Trustee Morgan?
Here.
Trustee Muncy?
Here.
And President Winicky?
Present. Okay, all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. McKelvey, would you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 4 on the agenda, we have oath of office. We're going to swear in Police Officer Derek Bond. So please come forward.
So as we do this, just a little bit about Derek. Derek's retired. He was Palatine for a little over 23 years. Bunch of different specialty assignments. What is nice about Derek is that he is actually a true Campton Hills resident. So not on the outskirts, he lives in Campton Hills. And he has his wife Nicole, and then his son Deacon, and his daughter Lana. Deacon and Nicole couldn't be here because she's at home taking care of him, but his daughter Lana is here in the back. So it would be nice to have Derek here with us, so help supplement. So he's doing part-time, so we're excited to have him. Cool.
Raise your right hand. I,
Aye.
Derek Bond, that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of police officer according to the best of my ability.
of police officer according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations and welcome. All right. Moving on, public comments.
Nancy Smith?
Hi. I noticed that originally the audit was to be presented tonight, and I'm here to request that the Finance Committee review the village's current fiscal segregation of duties. As a former village president and a member of the Finance Committee, I know how important it is to segregate the financial duties of the village to prevent mistakes and the risk of fraud. And those who have access to the village's financial software should not also have access to the village's cash. That's just kind of asking for trouble. For that reason, I'm asking that the Finance Committee make a recommendation to review not only the village's current controls, internal controls, but also make a policy to the board as to how the village should segregate these duties. Thank you.
Jim Muir?
I hate microphones, by the way. I do have a very loud outside voice. But anyhow, I just want to say a couple things tonight. I noticed on the agenda, I agree that the server from 2016 needs to be done. I only have one question that you should be asking Helping Hands. I noticed on there they're talking about remote access to that. I would question how they are going to handle that, whether it's an actual VPN. Hopefully it is not remote desktop protocol, which is not secure at all. So that's my comment on Helping Hands. And then the social media policy. I agree with the attorney's, the village attorney's recommendation that you do not do comments on any platform you decide to do. Thank you.
Leah?
All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Any items to be removed from the consent agenda? Gary? Oh,
Yeah, I'd like to hold the warrants.
Okay. Remove the warrants. Any others? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on moving the consent agenda with the exception of B, motion to approve payment of bills for warrant list 2410.
Yeah, and actually that I look, actually remove C and D as well.
C and D.
In other words, I just want to vote on the minutes. That's all I want to vote on right now. I'm being selfish.
You want to discuss the items first and then come back to it?
Consent agenda, okay. All right. I will start with B, motion to approve payment of bills per warrant list number 2410. I'll accept a motion.
I think you want.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I just had a comment.
All right.
I thought that the board, I don't know what it was, said they wanted a breakdown of the legal bills of $2,000 and under. And if I'm incorrect in that, because I know I supported the motion, is there a reason we're stopping that, or do we want to continue it? Because I don't think that was a bad policy.
Okay. You want to comment to that? Janet?
Just want to clarify, are you, when we say breakdown, you mean for us to be provided with the invoice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
And if I would venture, why we may not have seen it, I would venture that in the transition of village hall staff.
No, that's fine.
I'm not having
an issue. I just want to make sure if we voted on that we keep it consistent or remove it, one of the two. So.
Yeah. I think as it happened, I don't know if we actually got to vote on it. I think the prior administrator just stipulated that they would do it, which we all said was fine.
I thought we voted.
But in any event, we want to see it, right?
Okay.
We agree about that.
Okay, all right, so if we can just go back and provide,
Things that were over, was
thought it-
2,500 or
I thought it was
2,000?
2,000 or 2,500.
Yeah.
So if you just go back and shoot those to us, the detail around this one, I'm fine,
Okay,
okay?
good.
Just to be consistent, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Trustee McCaldy, you want to go into C, motion to approve IDOT request number 2 for approval of change of plans.
I so move.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by trustee Morgan. No comment?
No comments.
Okay.
I literally just wanted the minutes removed. That's what I wanted, so
Okay.
I wasn't at the
I
meeting.
did too, yeah,
I
I did
just-
too remove.
Yeah, I just wanted the minutes removed. You could have kept the other 3 together and have a discussion. But it's no big deal. Let's just work through this. We got a first and a second, okay? On C, first and second on C.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee McDelby?
Aye.
Trustee Morgan?
Aye.
Trustee Bodnar?
Aye.
Trustee Burson?
Aye.
Trustee Malek?
Aye.
Trustee Muncy?
Okay.
Abstain, I can't really hear. I'm abstaining, I can't really hear.
He can't hear, is that what he said? Okay. All right, motion passes. We'll go on to D. Entertain a motion on D. Move forward.
So moved.
Okay, moved by trustee Millet, second.
Second.
Second by trustee Morgan. Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Trustee Malek?
Aye.
Trustee Morgan?
Aye.
Trustee Bodnar?
Aye.
Trustee Burson?
Aye.
Trustee McDelby?
Aye.
Trustee Muncy?
Abstain.
Okay.
Okay. All right, motion passes, and I'll take a motion on the remainder of the consent agenda, which is A and B. So,
Well, I'll make a motion to
okay.
approve.
Trustee McAlpey,
I'll second.
trustee Morgan, any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Trustee McDelby?
Abstain.
Trustee Morgan?
Aye.
Trustee Bodnar?
Aye.
Trustee Burson?
Aye.
Trustee Malek?
Aye.
Trustee Muncy?
Abstain.
Okay, motion passes. All right, we'll move on to 7, staff reports. September 2023 Treasurer's Report, preliminary audit presentation. Timothy.
How's this? Can you hear me? Okay, on the agenda is the preliminary audit presentation. I know it's been emailed to you. This is the auditor's draft. They do anticipate being here next month to review it with the board. So that will be scheduled, but as of now, you have the draft in front of you. Also, you've been emailed the 5-month year-to-date financials and a variance to budget and prior year. This is the same format that's been presented in the last 2 months. I also included a narrative with that. I'll just quickly go over the narrative. There has been some discussion about overspending on the budget, so that is kind of what my narrative addresses. Specifically, I talk about when you initially look at the budget, which is available, it's a public document, it appears that we are in a deficit. We are spending in a deficit in fiscal year 24 by about $1.4 million, $1.48 million. The truth of the matter is a lot of the money we're spending this year was from revenue we received the last year. Primarily ARPA funds for the Village Hall and also unspent motor fuel tax. So it appears that we are spending in a deficit when we actually are not. Some other issues that have come up is legal. We've heard two comments in the last 2 months that we're overspending on legal. I did give you a schedule of legal spending. Year to date, we have spent a little over $98,000, and we have a fiscal year 24 budget of $104,000. So we spend 95% of our budget. So yes, there is a concern that we're overspending on legal expenditures. But in the bigger picture, in absolute dollar terms, it is not hurting our budget that much. And the primary reason is we have a lot of revenue sources that were not budgeted I don't wanna say accurately, but, they kind of missed the point that, interest rates went up quite a bit. We have healthy reserves, about $5 million. So we only budgeted, approximately $15,000 in interest revenue for the year. In actuality, in the first 5 months, we've received $125,000. So that is a substantial positive upside. And we still have 7 more months left, which I indicate in the narrative. So you're looking at over $250,000 in upside to the budget, relative to a potentially $50,000 or $60,000 downside for legal expense. And that's all I have. Any other questions? I'll entertain.
Yeah. Any questions or comments? Trustee Burson?
I think it's fantastic that with our sources of revenue that we hadn't counted on. So that's awesome. But I think that when we're looking at a significant overspending in a specific category, so we're 95% of budgeted spend in the 5th month of the year, so we're likely to blow way past our budget on legal. So I think what we would really hope to find out is that is offset by some reduced spend in other areas, and consider the additional revenue as a bonus that we could spend on other purposes that the village might derive better benefit from. So can you tell us anything good about the areas in which we, collectively are below budgeted spend here that would offset that legal spend?
I thought I gave good news already, Trustee Burson.
Oh, you did. It was fantastic news. But you understand where I'm coming from.
Jim, or Tim, I think we have personnel. We have a big.
I mean, I think that's what I was thinking, but I wanted to hear it from.
Yeah, we do. I mean, clearly we have a positive upside to the budget because of personnel, because we had some reductions in costs. Generally the biggest personnel cost for the village is police. Line items, some might seem over, but overall, in general, the police is almost spot on their budget. I think they're 42.7 of their spend, where they should be at about 42%, so that's pretty good. Yeah, it is. There are definitely some other big savings. Interest is the biggest, but how that is going to be spent is really up to the board. I do know, while we've had some personnel savings because of headcount reduction, we do have some responsibilities that need to be covered with limited manpower. The former mayor did make a comment about segregation of duties during public comment. You cannot have segregation of duties unless you have headcount. So, and that is what any auditor, when they come in and look at our internal controls, will accept a limited segregation of duties because there is a limit to headcount. I don't know if that answers your question.
I think it does. I just want to clarify that we're clear on the difference between compensating for excess spend here with reduced spend there is a different thing than compensating for excess spend here by found money there, because the found money, hopefully we can find a better use for it. That's all.
Okay. So it sounds like maybe you're asking me structurally is the.
I'm just trying to compare expenses to expenses, and I kind of don't want to try and cover the excess expense with some excess revenue. Right? So it's great that we have the excess revenue, but if we have the excess expense, we're hoping to stay within budget on the expense side, that we can continue to run lower in some of these other areas, in particular on the personnel side.
And Tim and I have spoken about there's some vacant positions, and we're not looking anytime soon to be filling them. And in executive session, we had some discussion on personnel that would clarify that.
So without criticism. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right.
Yep.
Yeah, just to echo that a little bit, because that is the right approach. You have to look at each thing as itself.
Correct.
You know, the revenue's great that it's up, but what if the revenue was flat? What if it was exactly what we thought it was? Then we'd be having a different discussion, but because it's up, we're saying, well, that's okay, because we got extra money. That's not the way anybody around the kitchen table runs it. We just gotta make sure we look at each expenditure as its own self and try to figure out what's wrong with it. Now, we know there's some explained variances because of things that have happened. Got that, check the box, I have no issue. But I do think it's critical because it's a valid point that you made. Gotta look at each thing itself.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? All right, thank you, Timothy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to Police Department. Chief Levan.
Don't really think I need a microphone, but you guys have your September monthly report that should have been attached for you guys. Just briefly, 157 calls for service, 13 accidents, including the fatality of 47 in McDonald, we already discussed last meeting. 98 citations, 2 arrests. The Coffee with the Cop event that was hosted on the 4th was a huge success. Thanks to Luau Coffee for hosting it. A couple October events coming up, Campton Open Space Creatures of the Night, Friday, October 20th, beginning at 5 p.m. Historic Coron Farms, hay rides, s'mores, live animals, bunch of activities. The Campton Open Space Hunt Hike was moved from last Friday because of the rain to November 3rd. That'll begin at 7 p.m. The Community Relations Committee has been working hard on the upcoming community events, including the Holiday in the Hills. Holiday in the Hills event will be on December 2nd from 3 to 6, coming back to the Village Hall here this year. A bunch of great activities, and of course we'll have Santa, Miss Claus, and the elves will take part. And then we'll also have a tree lighting ceremony, and I anticipate that the tree lighting ceremony will be the best from the years past, so I see a huge improvement coming there. I'll just leave it at that. So it should be a good time. I do want to thank Treasurer McPhillips for last few weeks. I've had some concerns, so because obviously over the last 4 months, I've now been stuck with a police department budget. He's been a huge help to me. We've gone over a lot of things. As he stated, our budget is pretty good. There's a couple little areas, vehicle maintenance and a little bit of overtime that's a little higher than I would like. But overall, that's good, so I'm happy with that. And I believe that is all I have for you guys. Any questions?
Any questions or comments?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief Levan. We'll move on to building and zoning. However, I don't see anybody here to give a report this evening, so we'll move on to attorney reports. And then Carmen, he'll talk about the Paid Leave Act.
Thank you, President Winnicke. We've had some questions lately from some of the board members and staff regarding the application or the applicability of the paid leave for Workers Act and how it would apply to the village and local municipalities. Our opinion, at least initially, is that we don't think it does apply, simply because the village does provide its own policy for leave for employees. However, it's been interpreted both ways. There have been efforts through the Illinois Municipal League to push an amendment to the legislation during the veto session, which unfortunately is very short and coming upon us very quickly. I think it's 6 days, over 2 weeks or something like that. So we're hopeful that they can get it completed. If they can't, then we'll be prepared to address it, likely via ordinance or resolution, just to identify that the village complies with the requirements of the act, that we already provide certain leave and certain types of sick time, vacation, whatever it might be, paid time off for our employees, so that there can't be interpretations, or to stave off any interpretations that the act would require more leave on top of what the village provides. So we'll have an update probably by the next meeting if the IMO is successful, and then we'll take action if necessary.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Forte, any questions or discussions regarding that? Trustee Bodnar.
Attorney Forte, so we have to have that all completed by January 1st, if otherwise we're just gonna fall into exactly how the state writes the.
That's what the fear is. Yeah, we believe that the village's policies itself would exempt us from that, exempt the village from that. However, just to take the belt and suspenders approach, we would want to pass some sort of legislation from the board just to indicate this is what's in place, refer the policy manual as updated from time to time, whether the village believes that it's in compliance with the minimum requirements, if not more than what the act provides, just so that somebody couldn't come around and say that we didn't comply. And we would do that before the first year, for sure.
Because that's really kind of a scary thing if we didn't take care of it correctly, because potentially, I mean, you could have an entire office that just says, I'm not coming in tomorrow.
Right.
There's nothing you can do about it.
It's somewhat, I don't want to say concerning, but it's a little bit baffling as to why the legislature wouldn't have directly addressed it, at least during floor discussion or committee notes or something about the intent to exempt local municipalities. Because most municipalities have more than the act would require. And really the intent of the legislation is to require employers that don't have that type of leave to provide it for their workers. Municipalities just simply don't have that, or already have that in place. So we're hopeful that it was, let's just say, a mistake, and they'll be open to amendments in short order. It's not the first time that legislation has not been very clear with regard to local municipalities, and changes that have been made later. So but we'll make sure the village is safe.
It is more than just what's in the employee manual, though, right? We have to have an actual ordinance.
That's recommended. But like I said, if we're exempted, then we wouldn't have to have an ordinance. If we have an ordinance, if we're not exempted, or if they just don't get to it, then we pass an ordinance.
Yeah.
That would reflect what's in the manual as amended from time to time.
Yeah. And is your objective when you're looking at this and putting this all together to hedge against those effects, to make sure that we are not falling into that category of?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other discussion, questions? Okay, moving on, we'll go to action items. 8A, motion to accept the proposal from Helping Hands IT Services and Networking Incorporated for the purchase of a new server. I'll entertain a motion to move it forward. Discussion, moved by Trustee Burson. I need a second.
Well, actually, we're going to move to table this.
Okay.
I'd second that.
Motion to table, second by Trustee Morgan. Roll call.
Trustee Burson?
Well, we can talk about it a little.
Oh, sorry.
No discussion, I'm sorry.
So, because I don't have a fundamental problem with us modernizing our IT stuff, of course. And I don't have a problem with Helping Hand. Helping Hand has provided us exemplary service. I know other organizations are using Helping Hand and having great experience with them as well. I do wonder whether there are enough questions, though, about premises-based servers versus cloud-based, and some of the other details around how we're approaching this, that it would make sense for us to take a step back and try to understand our needs a little bit better. We're effectively taking our template from 7 years ago and saying, let's just replicate that without looking at it more closely. And I suspect that if we were to move to a cloud-based solution, it wouldn't particularly be a budget savings, but I suspect that we would end up with a more secure solution at the end of the day, and we would end up with a more forward solution, looking solution at the end of the day.
Thank you. Trustee Morgan first, I think.
I also looked into the situation because I actually, running my businesses, I use remote servers. And I was concerned that there were some things that a municipality had to do differently, obviously, to be able to secure records and things. My research shows that there's several out there that municipalities have to use it to their advantage. And it makes more sense today in the remote world that you have a remote remote server instead of something sitting in your basement somewhere. So I suggest that we hold off and do some more research, even if it takes putting a small 3-person or 4-person committee together of even residents that, you know, are fluent in what needs to be done in computers, to be able to justify exactly what we do. I know I have a lot of cost savings in my companies by using remote servers, and they're far more secure than they are being a static server in someone's building.
Thank you. Trustee McCallum?
Yeah, I was just gonna comment on the cloud, because I think that's the way to go. Obviously, we should kind of look at the costs and all that, but everything you read, cybersecurity, people are going cloud-based. And I think it's something that we should take a pause and kick the tires and figure out which way we want to go.
Okay, Trustee Millett?
Okay, I'll go the other way, not entirely. Good. Part of it was the ownership of the data and all that stuff that went from 7 years ago was the concern, and which is the stuff that we should, for PD or something that have. So tabling, good idea. Ad hoc committee, good idea. Kim brought up something about clarification on how it's accessed to, so I think that's all a good idea. So maybe a little task force is not a bad idea to wrangle with this and come back in 6 weeks, something like that.
I think we could bring back some information from the chief and the King County justice requirements and this that may impact the decision too. So we can bring more detail back from the chief on that regard of cloud versus what some mandates that we're not aware of here today.
Trustee Burson?
I don't know if you're aware, but we also have a King County data center that is available to municipalities. So, you know, there's a lot of different variations on this. Our stuff could be on some, you know, cloud server at Microsoft, but it could also be sitting at the King County data center, where I believe our hope is that our primary police application is going to be the similar application that the county's using. Is that right?
Yeah, so I actually have a meeting tomorrow with them, and they're gonna discuss more. I can already tell by their agenda that's out, that this has now been in discussion for a year. And I can tell by the agenda that their director put out already, that it's probably not gonna be anytime soon, but I will have a firm answer tomorrow. And again, I think like the whole thing, what everyone is saying is excellent, because my biggest concern from it is that we have a Crime Star system, old, obviously, that has all our records from 2007. So that's my only one concern, is making sure that that's backed up, safe and secure, and we have access to that.
And you have to keep that regardless.
Regardless, because it could be 20 years from now, someone says, I need a copy of this report. By law, we have to provide that report. So unfortunately, even though I'm not a fan of the system, it started a long time ago, we're stuck with the system, at least saving what we had in the past. That's just my concern on it.
Any other comments, discussion? Sure.
Chief, if you don't mind, kind of a question for you.
Never mind.
The cloud-based server, you know, one thing I was thinking about is if for some reason you couldn't connect to that, I mean, you have to be able to connect to this, right? I mean, all the time, if it fails, if you can't log into it, that creates an issue for your department?
So yeah, it would create an issue, but I'll speak to the positive of that. So we obviously have Axon. They have everything. Axon is cloud-based, proprietary to Axon. That's our body cams, our SWAT cams. We have not, since we've had them, had one single issue. Like the great benefit to them is, before what would happen is, anything video-wise on our SWAT cars we would record. We would actually have to pull the SWAT car up to the back door. We'd have to link to the server, wait, hopefully an hour it would download. Well, with the Axon system, it doesn't matter where we're at. If there's no cell phone reception, that immediately gets uploaded to the cloud. That's their cloud, but it's amazing. It works great. So I think, you know, there's positives of it. I think it's stuff way beyond me, obviously. Some people smarter than me. I think there's positives. The connection thing, could that be an issue? But we have zero issue with Axon and their cloud, the service they provide us.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate the feedback.
Sure.
Any other discussion or questions? Sure.
It's tabled without a date certain, so it could be brought up by next
Next
week.
meeting.
Next meeting, if we have enough information to
Sure.
move forward, we can.
Yeah.
It just has to come off the table by a simple vote. So
Sure.
it's good to not put a certain date to it. Gives you flexibility.
Okay. Okay, okay, all in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right, we'll go on to 10, additional items from president, trustees, or attorney. I have nothing. Trustee?
Number 9.
Did I? Oh, I'm sorry, skipped. Okay, current discussion items, social media policy, that'll be Carmen once again.
Thank you again, isn't it? I think it was the last meeting, we discussed the potential draft social media policy. Prepared a memo for this evening. I understand it's quite lengthy, so I apologize, but there is a lot of law in this area, good and bad. And I prepared a draft social media policies at the end of the memo. The village does have a social media and social networking policy, but just in the policy manual, it's not incredibly robust. It does address some of the points. Social media has changed a bit in, let's say, the last 6 years or so since the policy was likely updated. But the policy I created really gives options for no comment situation or a limited comment situation. What you really want to control is the forum. Are we creating an open forum or public forum or a limited public forum? Or are we creating no forum at all, which would be a no comment situation? I made recommendations within the memo, and then the policy itself is pretty standard for what I've used for a number of clients. Both villages, schools, libraries, they all have common concerns. So it addresses the public's use of the village's social media platform pages, or whatever you might call them, and then staff and elected officials' use of the village's pages itself. So somewhat of a comprehensive approach, and really just the ability for us to talk about it, review it if we'd like, and we can bring it back in final format with any comments or revisions at a later time. So we're happy to ask or answer any questions this evening.
Okay. Any discussion, any questions? Trustee Bogner?
If we do allow comments, what is the procedure for removing those comments and storing those comments? And I mean, you can't just delete them, correct? I mean, they're now public record that can be stored. So how much, logistically is involved in just allowing comments on social media?
They can be deleted in the sense that they can be, let me take back deleted, they can be removed. If they violate a certain set of guidelines, that would be listed in the social media policy, and likely, as we would recommend, identified or at least summarized at the page. If it was a Facebook page, usually there's an About Us section or something at the top. YouTube, sometimes you have that on your landing page for your YouTube channel, or maybe if you link like we do now, link the YouTube page from the village website, you also have that listed there. It would be a way to identify to the public, these are the policies, this is what is not allowed. Profanity, obscene language, threats of violence, different things, advertisements, things like that. If they violate those types of the policy or the statement, then you remove the comment. And there would have to be somebody who's designated to do that. Typically, it's the village clerk as and/or his or her designee, and they're maintained for the amount of time that what specific category the Local Records Act requires that type of record to be maintained for. So somebody could FOIA comments that were removed, and it's a local record, you have to provide those. The bigger concern, I mean, that's certainly a concern, is monitoring it and removing things here and there. It's constant moderation of the platform. Reviewing the comments and then determining whether they should be removed or not And, you know, for a village that has a small staff, it can be difficult. You know, certainly it doesn't have to be done 24/7, but I know some communities that do it 24/7, and they have a backup. And the problem with that is that when your primary designee is out on vacation and your backup calls in sick, you could have somebody not monitoring it for 2 days. And you have to have a backup plan in place because there could be a comment on there. It's not the end of the world that it stays up there, that it's obscene or threatening or whatever it might be, but you don't want to set a precedent that something stayed up there for 4 days and it's not been monitored. So typically our recommendation is that you just don't allow comments. It's not any sort of violation of state law if you don't allow comments. It's just the information is provided for informational purposes only, and you're not providing a forum for people to discuss things. You know, unlike a public meeting or, you know, any other event. It's not a forum. It's an information tool. It's a bulletin board, essentially.
Trustee Millett?
I was gonna go similar to that. I mean, at work, we have a communication person, we have a comms person that does that. That's their job, and they have a backup and all that. And we're slightly bigger town, but going back to what's our purpose for the social media presence? I think it's a bulletin board. I think it's to let people know what's going on. We do have this forum for people to come back in. They can always send in, they can always call in. We're not stopping feedback per se, but if we're looking at what we're talking about, you know, the general things that we're gonna be is, you know, here's an event that PD's having, here's the, you know, the meeting agenda, here's, you know, highlighting hills, that kind of stuff. I think that's what we're looking for. So unless we had more people to actually watch it, to the attorney's point, you know, something more than a person, a backup, and a third backup, which we don't have, I think we should consider the bulletin board approach what makes the most sense to have the policy mesh with that.
And that's a great point. It's a lot of times it's a communications department. They might have interns in the department backing up full-time employees. The other aspect that I didn't really discuss is it's not always black and white as to whether or not a comment can or should be removed. Sometimes it requires attorney input, and we regularly advise on the removal of comments. Is this, you know, we have this set of policies and it says 10 different things they can't do. What does this meet any of them? You know, we're certainly available. I'm available whenever you need me or any of my partners, but there might be times where it could be a Sunday morning and somebody posts something, and you know, I'm sitting in church and you might not hear from me for a few hours. Not the end of the day. I mean, it can be taken down in a few hours, but those are the things we need to consider.
Trustee Burson?
So I'm in a little bit different space on this. I understand the limited forum. That makes sense to me, and I understand having a well-defined list of things that we would not want to allow people to post or comment about. But I think that it's important to have some type of an online forum that people can actually engage with. And not everyone comes to the meetings. You know, people have come tonight. Thank you very much. It's nice to have people come in and engage. But there are 10,000, 11,000 people live in this village, and you know, we yet to see, you know, a small fraction of that show up at a meeting. So I kind of like the idea of giving people a way digitally to engage, and I wonder whether one of the things that we could do is to recognize that not all of our social media is the same, and that a Facebook page, for example, might be more of a bulletin board, as Trustee Millett said, but the YouTube page that hosts the videos of these meetings, for example, might allow comments, because people who were watching the meeting after the fact might have comments about what we said and did here. So I was thinking that maybe if the nature of what we were posting really went to the business of the village and to public policy and things, then maybe people should have an opportunity to weigh in on it, even if it's remotely. But if the nature of what we're posting is just sort of informative, then there's really not a need to comment about that.
Oh, just briefly, no, and that's a great idea. The one thing I have seen, when villages have liked to receive comments after meetings, after things have happened, is when they post their videos, they put, we welcome public comment after the fact, and they actually take the written comments, they'll put, email address, typically public comment at xyzvillage.com, and then what staff will do is then circulate those comments to the village board after the fact. And it might be in the next board packet. Hey, we got these 10 comments that were posted or were sent to this email address, and then the whole board gets them. So that way you take the input. That's another option.
Trustee Millett?
Okay, you changed my mind somewhat. I mean, maybe that's it. We focus on one thing, and that's probably a good one. Because those are stream of consciousness live, and some people can something put it on there. And then if we have them as a more formal part of the process, and then we just say, okay, let everybody know, no, Facebook is just, because that's what I'm thinking is if we could focus on one thing and moderate, yeah, we could probably manage that, I'm guessing. But if we did X and YouTube, or be like 10 of them.
Before we get a policy.
Okay, whose hasn't fallen yet today? Okay.
I'm fixing those next week.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or comments? All right, we'll move on. Let's see, now we have additional items from president, trustees, or attorney. I have nothing. Any trustees have any additional item or information?
I do.
Oh, trustee Faulkner.
I do. So over the last couple of weeks, we've had some turnover in the office, and we've had some people leave, and we've had some vacancies, and I just wanted to take a couple minutes and really put a nice positive spin on that, and just say thank you to Barb and Tracy and Holly. Janet, I know you were in here working on things and getting stuff tuned up. Every one of these trustees has made themselves available, offered their expertise in one way or another to support the village. Chief, nothing but amazing things to say about you and your leadership. And I just wanted to really just take a couple of minutes just to say thank you to everybody. I think that we've really taken a time that could be very challenging, and from the outside looking in, someone can perceive it as being challenging, and we've really made the most out of it, done an excellent job. I was in here today, met with Mark. I was very impressed. I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, you've been here a week, and sitting down and talking to you, and with how much thought you've put into our village over the last week, and the suggestions, I wasn't expecting as much, honestly, just because you've only been here for a week, and I really appreciate that. So I think overall, there's just so much excitement going on here at the village, and we need to recognize that it's not just hiring and firing and this and that. I mean, this is like a time of major improvement, and everybody is kicking it into high gear. So thank everybody very much.
Thank you, trustee Faulkner. Anybody else?
I'll just second
Trustee
that.
Morgan? Yeah, the sound system, by the way, is
And the only
excellent.
people I didn't hear mention is our wonderful staff.
Yeah.
We're a little light on staff these days, but we still have, several staff members that have done a great job for us. So.
And we
that's
welcome, definitely, Administrator Rudy. He has really hit the ground running. He's got a lot of great ideas, and I'm pretty excited about that. So thank you for that. Anybody else? No. Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session and for appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees or contractors, litigation that is filed and pending or is probable or imminent.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Nothing.
No close minutes. So, moved by trustee Morgan, seconded by trustee Millet. Any discussion? That was a comment that we should have discussion after announcing we're going into closed session, so. All right, roll call please.
Trustee Morgan?
Aye.
Trustee Millet?
Aye.
Trustee Vogner?
Here.
Trustee Gerson?
Aye.
Trustee McElvey?
Aye.
Trustee Muncy? Oh, he's in.
All right, motion passes.
Yeah, he was in.
Thank you, Holly, for making our microphones.